basically today we've got the final production versions. Okay, so this has been through like several different tweaks in terms of like color balance and so on. I think the last version we had it was this one. It was too dark. It become a bit too muddy compared to the canvas. So you can see like the difference between this and the new version. The version before that was slightly too flat, which was this version. Yeah. Which was a little bit too washed out, you know. Just kind of went from this to this. So this is the final version. What we've also done is balanced it across the fabric. So every single fabric reproduces differently. So, you know, some of these we're using 2 different fabrics, some we're using 3 different fabrics. This Polartec, this is like a highly technical waterproof, windproof fabric with stretch. This reproduces completely differently to the jersey fabric, for example. The other big thing we've done is work on the green. So we said before we didn't really like it was a bit baby blue before, which didn't reflect it. This was the one that you signed off on here. And then, you know, it's basically perfect match with that now.
Great.
And then same with the grey that you chose on the sides. What we need to do today is a couple of different things. So we need to decide on the bib shorts, which we haven't actually fully decided whether we're doing the bib shorts yet. So we don't normally do bib releases. We did them for edit 1 and edit 2. We did them for edit 3. We weren't going to do them for this edit. I think the only difference really is the printing on the straps, which obviously doesn't really, that's not really relevant to anyone. However, I do really like the contrast with the colour. And when you see the photographs of it on the model, you'll see what I mean. Like it really does sort of layer up really nicely. What you have to consider is that people aren't necessarily going to buy the whole collection. Someone might just buy one piece or 2 of the pieces and layer them or wear them with other apparel. So you need to think about how does it work with other clothing you might wear, not just wearing the whole collection together. The other big thing is whether we go with, we weren't sure before, or you weren't sure before either, but whether to go with the green sides or the grey sides. So what I've done is the base layer items that go underneath everything, I'm going to stick with the green. But then there's a question mark on the outer layers. So the gilet, because this is always going to be on the outside, because it's a you know, technical outerwear, it's not a jersey. This is always going to be seen on the outside. And so I wondered if having a slightly more muted colour with the grey was going to work better for the gilet.
I like that grey.
You like the grey?
Yeah, I really like the tone of that grey as well.
But then there's the other question of that then is, do we go, I can show you the grey sides. So this is then the jersey with the grey sides. So it really makes a big difference actually. Like if you look at this is the most recent version. So it's exactly the same print, exactly the same fabrics, same product. One with the green on the sides and one with the grey on the sides. It looks like a quite different product, doesn't it? It makes this look like it's a different tone or different contrast or different colour. It's absolutely identical.
Wow. I do like the grey. I do like the grey.
You also have to think about how this is seen on the body, right? So these side panels, when you're cycling, you know, if you're off the bike, you're actually not really going to see this much of the side panel because your arm is going to be covering it. Of course, when you're then riding and you're in the, you know, you're riding along, you're then exposing the whole of the side of the product. So, you know.
I wonder if the grey just feels a little bit more sophisticated and lets the green and hair do the work, and obviously the flashes of green hair and some of the stitching. So,
this it's the pocket actually that I think is the interesting point, right? Because with this, you see a lot of green in this area, don't you?
Yes.
Whereas with this now, you're only really getting the pickup to the pocket, and it almost looks like, you know, with some of your cutout pieces, you actually have the holes, the perforations in this fabric. So you are literally seeing your cutouts, the colour coming through, which is how you work in your.
No, I love the green there. I think on the side panel, I'm edging towards grey.
This is actually genuinely the first time I've seen the grey as well. It's the first one I've taken out of its packet.
Okay.
I looked at these at home, but it's the first time I've seen it too.
You've got the green hair, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then also with the gilet, there's a few other details that you don't have in the other products. So we also have the pockets. So we've got 2 front pockets, which give you the double protection across the chest. You've got double wind protection, which is where you really need it, less so here. And what we've done with these is that the inside of the pocket
is green,
is the same colour.
Nice.
So you get that extra little detail.
Yeah, really nice. So I think because of those added areas of green, I would stick with grey.
And the base layer I think works nicer with the green personally.
Yes,
I think
agreed.
I mean the other option is we can, technically we could offer both colourways to people and then people can choose themselves. But what we found to date is that the more choice you give people, actually it can be better sometimes to steer someone towards. You're always going to get 1 or 2 person or 3 people that maybe want that other version.
I think there's enough flashes of green in these pieces that you don't need this to be green too.
The other question then becomes, I'll show the pie track as well that you haven't seen before, because we didn't have this product launched the last time I saw you. So obviously this is the cargo gilet, so this is meant to be for sort of all day rides, long distance. So you've got your covered foam pocket, secure. You've also then got this large cargo pocket. So, on these kind of rides you have to carry quite a lot of kit with you, being able to kind of have a secure pocket on the back that has a lot of space. When you're not using the gilet, it then folds into its own rear pocket as a stuff sack, and we've actually printed the inside of the pocket so that when you flip it, your design is also on the outside of the bag. So that is now waterproof, windproof, you can scrunch it up, squeeze the air out.
That is lovely.
Fit in any pocket.
Very nice.
I've been riding a long
lovely.
time. I don't think I've ever seen the Technicloud to wear product that looks like this before. So, that's
great.
itself.
That's great.
Quite exciting.
Really
and then,
nice.
when you use it, you're getting a bit cold, whip it out of your bag, your pocket, ready to put on.
Perfect. We were talking about the slight colour cast on the white.
Yes.
Right? So we added in, originally, we added a bit of yellow back in, didn't we?
We did.
Can we compare it to, so this is the latest, what was it?
This was the previous one. So you see this is a much bluer cast. I think this comes back to what we were talking about the piece needing to work in and of itself, not necessarily directly replicating.
We can change it back to this if we
canvas.
wanted to, can we?
Yeah, of course we can.
Okay, so
I've got all of these artworks are archived, so each stage is proofed and signed off.
the only thing I would change on the colour
Yeah.
is to take out some of the yellow that's been put in since there,
Okay.
because I prefer that to this. It feels slightly green.
Well, yeah, okay. So that would probably be, so what you're saying is that some of the extra green cast that's come in has leached into the white, essentially.
Yes.
So you'd like this to be, the white to be less green-blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. I can isolate that and change it.
Yeah.
I mean, the question is, though, this is the really important point with this, and the same with the print editions, right? It's about how it looks in isolation. So instead of comparing them, instead of putting it next to the artwork.
No, I just feel it looks slightly. Yeah, I think there's a slightly green cast on it, which I'm not mad on.
Okay.
Details, but yeah.
Yep, I don't disagree with that, actually. But I always prefer to hear.
Turn that down.
I don't like leading people in these conversations. It's always
That's
better to
my
hear
only
your
criticism of Edit 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And then there's some other products I haven't seen. This is the neck warmer, which
Yeah.
we've had quite a lot of people buying these as fashion items.
Yeah.
Where I've got 2 or 3 friends who bought them for their partners or whatever, or wear them themselves.
That's really nice.
It works really well in isolation. Obviously, we've also got the cap here as well. Which, people running these, wear them for whatever. So yeah, this is
really nice
also quite nice. I did wonder about maybe zooming the artwork out on that so you could see more of the print on it, but I think then it doesn't really work so well as part of the collection. So
No, I think that's good as it is. This is really nice.
my only other question to you would also be the grey. So this was the grey the second choice of grey. The first choice of grey was I don't know if I have it here actually. Yeah, there we go. That was the original choice of grey.
No, this
which
is
was
much better.
Much better.
Oh God, yeah.
So I guess the question there is there a better grey than that? Again,
I think the grey's perfect. So adapt
Do you?
it. I really like it.
Okay.
Let's have a look.
so the question whether you go something a little bit darker that frames the image more, or something a bit more a bit more anthracite-y, something with a bit more of a sort of the thing with these things is the choice is endless, right?
Yes. Yeah.
This colour was quite easy to match because it's already in the artwork.
Yeah.
There are so many grey tones in here that you could.
You go one shade darker, maybe.
So again, I completely agree with you.
I would go where are we? Round about here.
The one, this is the one we're on.
I mean, there's such tiny changes. We could go.
But I wonder if it's not this way. I wonder if it's we leap over to a different tone. For me, I think the tonality of that works a little bit nicer.
Okay.
Rather than coming down on the same scale, switching to the different. Actually, no, you put it there. Maybe that is too much.
It is too much. That is too much.
Okay.
I would stay on that, but go 1 or 2 darker if you want to. But I don't think we're talking. Yeah, maybe that.
Okay. Let's just try.
Mm.
With this as well, there's no right or wrong, is there?
No.
You know, you could use a million different shades of grey.
Okay, maybe this one.
Yeah.
But it's a small change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we've gone too darker. Yeah. Okay.
What's interesting as well is when you do actually compare them directly. So you see now when you put them next to each other, you can really see the difference of this. And this has got a bit too much like magenta and blue in it versus this one. And then if we hold this one up.
But I'm not too worried about trying to replicate.
No,
that
but it's
more.
just an interesting.
Yeah.
Are you happy with the contrast on this? I mean, I
Yeah.
think the way that pops, you know, when it was on your wall earlier.
Yeah, it was really nice.
And then also up close
Okay,
as well. I
perfect.
think
Yeah, the grey
nice.
can be 2 tones darker. Yeah,
Yeah.
looking at it then so that's the only thing I'd change other than taking out some
Taking a tiny bit of the
yellow green cast out of it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to show me?
No, I think that's it. I think we're good. I
This is
think
lovely. I do love the bib.
there are some smaller questions that we can talk about later. Things like I'm not overly. So normally we have, you know, we use our umlaut pattern. You know, it details across all our pieces. It's a bit of our, you can see on the bags, a bit of our design language. My feeling with these artist editions now is that actually maybe we're injecting too much costume into it and it should be more about you. So for example, I'm going to lose the umlauts off of here.
I think it'll look nicer without it.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean potentially even off the bottom of the cap. You know, this is on all our caps, but
yeah.
I just feel like it's maybe one piece of branding too many on these particular collabs.
Yeah.
You have any strong feeling about that?
I don't mind it too much here.
Sure.
I don't like it there.
Yeah, I agree. Agreed.
Um,
you know, I'll edit for example, you know, we had it run up the whole sides and
yeah.
some people really liked it, but for these artist collaborations,
I prefer not.
yeah, great. Cool.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
Great. Looking forward to, I think when you see it on bodies as well, Fergus and I are going to be doing the shoot quite soon, and I think when you see the images of it and people are actually riding with it in nature and, you know, using it as it's intended, it looks different again to this.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like actually, you know, we have one more revision that we can make, and I think waiting to see those shots of how it looks on the models in action
Yeah.
will allow us to make these better decisions because it looks so different to how it looks here.
Great. Well done, Ed.
Cool. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thanks for taking part in it. It's been great.